So in my previous video, I mentioned a few things that happened for me or around me when I started having more success, like winning phone numbers and meeting people. And meeting people is not about winning phone numbers, but phone numbers is an indication of like a certain level of engagement or interest with people that's like significant. It might be like a development marker. It would actually be. So that's a development marker. Getting phone numbers. Yeah, but things are not about that, and just because you got someone's phone number doesn't really necessarily mean anything, because they can assume that can assume go nowhere. But it would have to be a certain amount of engagement or interest to get to exchange phone numbers, I think. But what I was saying is that in some of those things that I was mentioning, like having your own, having a residence in your own name, a vehicle in your own name, a way of making income where you preserve your own initiative, and you have a degree of say-so and self-respect, and therefore the respect of others. Maybe having like something that a craft or that you're passionate about, like say a hobby or like an instrument, but then getting opportunities to be public about that, even if practicing publicly, that helps a lot. And then being comfortable in different situations helps a lot. But what more so of what that does, all that stuff can be dispensed with, and does not amount to anything, and does not entitle one to anything. But all it would go towards doing is making you more of yourself, because you're having more privacy in that situation. Or if you're having company, you're having more choice about when and where and who you engage with, and you're having more. You're just being more of yourself. And so I was saying that might be stronger than the better version of yourself is the realer version of yourself. So I would say that anyone listening to this is as sexy as the sexiest in the world. You're not necessarily more or less sexy than anyone else, but that this existence and the circumstances that conspire to conceive what we have as you would conspire to conceive for us to have what we have as you. There's nothing greater than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing sexier than you whatsoever. Your background or appearance or who you are, there's nothing better or cooler or sexier than that. There can be things as cool, as sexy, as great, but not greater, just because of who you are and what you come from and what it would have to take for you to exist and continue to exist, both your efforts and the efforts of others, and your inspiration and the inspiration of others. So I think that like, in another one I didn't mention, that one would be like growing the hair. Now, I had more experiences. I had different experiences when I let my hair grow, and that's not because hair is so cool, but more so because I'm being more of who I am, or I'm embracing more of who I am. Had I had shorter hair or no hair, that might not be any different. And I see a lot of people with no hair having beautiful experiences that are awesome, and that are greater than the experiences that I might be having watching them with my longer hair. But the only thing I'm saying is that what works for them is them being themselves and embracing who they are. And from that standpoint, anything can work for anyone as you're being who you are. It's kind of like an instrument. Like, what's the coolest instrument? Like, I got a guitar, and a lot of people would think a guitar is cool. But if you had a ukulele or a very small instrument with some kind of string that you created, and you enjoy that, and you engage with that, and you are able to be yourself with that, musical, creative, but more important, yourself. Or it may be self, that sounds like self-centered, but you are more of what you are, who you are, through anything that you feel that you're good with. It's now good, and as good as anything else, and it's rock and roll. And it's the same thing with like a style and an appearance. Is that if that's you and you enjoy you, now others can enjoy you, and you respect you, now others respect you. And so engaging with ourselves is a standpoint to engage others. A lot of people would seek to be influential. Many things are seeking to be more and more influential. Both things that would seem straightforward and like logical, and things that are creative and abstract. Both of those are by and large seeking influence. Even you take something as serious and pragmatic as like fighting or military, but what's more so significant is the influence that's created with that. Like some people some people have different approaches, like to like being a showman or something. Some people would say that it's the show that's more important, or it's the man that's more important. And I've seen people take it in both directions and win and lose with both standpoints. But I think that being authentic is what's more important than that standpoint. So even if you have something that you're good at, you do it for the sake of being good at it. And what does that amount to? Is that it amounts to influence at the greatest sense, because influence is many would say that the highest form of power, just simply in that it's the most efficient cause of outcome is derived from influence, therefore the greatest power. But we more so are influential by going inward to before and to go outward is to go inward first. So you're playing music, you're enjoying music. As you start to enjoy it, as you start to be inspired by it, as it gets cool to you, now it's getting cool to other people. Or even as an athlete, you start having fun. You start doing I had a friend growing up, and we'd had like these basketball tournaments in the neighborhood, and there was one player on my team who played that whole game with a smile. He was smiling on his face. It's kind of like a smirk and a grin, but also enjoying himself. He was just smiling as he was running all over and getting over on everyone. But he was having fun. Now other people are having fun because he's having fun. And it's like the same thing with like people would say that about like partying and stuff. All I would say is that I think that it's not so much about entertaining or impressing or being the funniest or being the best, but it's about being more of who you are. And if you are funny, then being more of that is cool. But if you're something different, then being more of you is also cool. And so that's where I was going. So, and the other thing I wanted to say is that I think that this is, I won't go deep into this because I'm still reflecting on this, but I think that a lot of the things we do, we gain initiation at different, sometimes we don't actually recognize when life is initiating us. And some things that are like more formal or like higher, more profound or like intentional initiations of some kind, they're actually emulating or inciting a real life experience as a function of initiation. But we actually have these real life experiences that are initiating us into who and what we are a lot, whether we recognize them. And I think that there was someone, I think it was Real Social Dynamics Tyler, and he said that every man has a concept of what is charisma, or what is smooth, or like what is different words for being smooth and immaculate around members of the same and opposite sex to different degrees, for different purposes, for different experiences, for different enjoyment. But what he says is that every man has a degree of that, and I think that that's true. But what I think is that whatever your style of like flirting, or like just your style of engagement with people, it might be a few handful of times in your life, likely at formative ages, but not necessarily at formative ages, where even sometimes when you're getting into being your latter 20s or even early 30s, you're still yet developing. You're developing all through life, but even the 20s and 30s can still be part of that formative period, I think. But so you have these experiences where someone actually engaged you, like someone who is attractive. They might not have been flirting on the surface or presenting themselves that way, although that interaction could have amounted to anything that flirting would have amounted to. But they engaged with you uniquely, like in a unique circumstance. So there was this really beautiful girl when I moved back into the north at the end of high school, and there was like a few cool people and beautiful people like within a few blocks of each other where I lived. There was like one outstanding basketball player and some beautiful girls. And one of these girls was like, I was actually skipping school that time, and I came home after she was getting off the bus, and she's like, "Playing hooky, are we?" But that interaction is still with me. That energy is still with me, and it informs who I am. And so what I'm saying is that there might be a few handful of times in your life where you were actually engaged by someone. It didn't have to be very profound, and actually the less might be the more potent. But that very engagement, that's what you understand of engaging with other people. So you were essentially initiated in that. And I think that if you could reflect on those particular experiences in your life when you were really engaged somehow, whether through friendship or romantically, or maybe more ambivalently where you didn't know what it was but you could feel what it was, that's actually your engagement. And a lot of your style of dealing with people, you could extrapolate, is similar to that. Or the times like when you've actually been intimate with people, that might actually have to do with the time that you've experienced touch at different points in your life. And whether you had been intimate also there, or just you had some form of touch, that energy is still with you, and it informs your intimacy with other people. And being aware of that can help you understand what works for you, so you can be more of yourself to do more of what works for you.